We are Cactus Wrestling. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.
Welcome back to Cactus Wrestling. Today, what are we talking about here? We're talking about the matchup of the century?
Oh yeah. Round
Decade?
4, baby.
Ding ding.
Yeah, we're talking about Keegan O'Toole versus David Carr. This is a highly anticipated matchup. I'm sure these two guys have been looking forward to it ever since the NCAA finals last year. And I mean, they've only ever wrestled those 3 times last season, right? Yeah, because Carr was 10
Yeah.
57. So this is the not even a rubber match. They're gonna have wrestled 3 times this season, so there'll be a total of 6 matchups. Right now, Carr leads it 2-1, but
Not
O'Toole
the
got
big
it
one.
done when it mattered most. So this could be a match for the century here. Depending on, well, I mean, I think all 3 of these matchups are going to end up being crazy.
Who do you
Yeah.
guys have in this duel?
O'Toole.
I am actually back and forth. Originally this year, I said I think David Carr was going to get it done. I was like, it's tough to beat the same guy 3 times. Keegan beat him when he needed to. And I was like, David Carr is going to bounce back and he's going to train all offseason. He didn't do freestyle this year and he's solely focused on folk style. But then he hasn't looked as sharp as he has in years past. And so it's kind of shifted my perspective. And I'm thinking, well, Keegan O'Toole's look pretty good. And it'd be tough to pick against him. But we'll see what happens. Until then, I am going to go to O'Toole. Like 60% O'Toole.
Wow. I
Yeah.
actually have David Carr winning this. One, it's in Iowa State. So imagine David Carr's last home match ever. He's going to take a loss? I don't think so.
Yeah, he is.
To add to that, Jack, too, is, Carr beat him the most when they wrestled in the duel. It was 7-2.
No, that's true.
So he's game for the duel every year with Keegan. So I could definitely see your point there.
The
I think,
Tiger duel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a year since they've matched up. It's one thing to wrestle like 3 weeks apart, like they did 3 times last year. I feel like you have a
Kind of like what they're
better
about to do this
grasp.
year.
But they've had a whole year to kind of develop and change a little bit. And to counter you, I feel like Keegan's kind of struggled at times this year, even though Carr's the one that actually has a loss this year.
Yeah.
Like
Struggled. He bumped up and beat the number 3 guy a weight class above him.
Yeah,
yeah,
but
I know, but like even against Jillian Ramirez, he gave up the first takedown. Peyton Hall like was beating him. He had
he won 8-7
comeback wins
against
against
Peyton
both of
Hall.
those guys.
But he won.
8-7, yeah, but it was a close match. He was
Because he fell into a hole, yeah. But still,
I'm
he
just saying
won the match.
he hasn't looked as dominant as the Keegan O'Toole that we expect. I feel like he's struggled at times against guys.
to add to that. So Keegan O'Toole wrestles Peyton Hall 8-7 on January 26th. 2 weeks later, on February 2nd, Peyton Hall wrestles David Carr, and David Carr wins 10-5. I mean, chasing a major. Like, he has been making strides. I mean, their common opponents are interesting.
Didn't Hall hit him with like a big move? Isn't that how he got in the hole?
Remember that part.
I don't
I
remember. I feel like he got a couple takedowns,
I
maybe.
thought he had 2
There's
takedowns
just
on
2 takedowns. Okay.
him.
Well,
But I mean, they both wrestled Izzy Olenek
Yeah.
recently. O'Toole won 5-1, and Carr won
Um,
8-1.
yeah.
They've both wrestled Peyton Hall. Carr won 10-5, and then obviously Keegan won by 1 point. Um,
The
I mean,
Julian Ramirez match is the most interesting because he beat Carr 4-3, but then Keegan beats Ramirez 13-5.
right, but that match,
all
I mean, he really
stylistic.
opened it up in the third period because
Yeah,
Ramirez
it
got
was
the
close.
first
It was yeah,
takedown.
it was close. So
Plus,
then
Carr's loss, that was back on
December
December
2nd. I mean, that
1st.
was
That's
so
almost
early
three
into the
months
season.
ago.
So early into the season.
So
Yeah.
I just, what's crazy is that these guys are both Big 12 conference, and there's one other undefeated guy in this weight class, Mitch Messenbrink, who is at number 6. Imagine if Mitch Messenbrink wins the Big Tens, he beats like Hamidi, because Olenek is Big 12 as well. So and then Ramirez is EIWA. Like let's imagine Carr beats him in the Big 12s and they each have one loss, and then Mitch Messenbrink's the only undefeated guy. Is there a possibility that Mitch Messenbrink is the number 1 seed at NCAAs if he wins Big Tens?
Well, I don't know the seeding criteria.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's a possibility.
Is
I don't know if
RPI and coaches poll a factor in that too?
I think so.
Like in addition to their record, so like even if you have just like the one loss, I think it is possible that it's possible that Messenbrink could get the one, but
I just like that the fact that these guys will actually wrestle against each other in the dual meet. That they're not just gonna run away from each other and say, "No, we'll do it in the postseason." Like they embrace it, and I think that that's great for the sport. And that's honestly like a lot of guys aren't doing that. They're like, "Oh, why would I risk having a 1-2 matchup, 2 weeks before postseason?" These guys don't shy away from that, and I respect that a lot.
I want to get back to the seeding for just one point is I don't think Mitch could be the one per se, but I think that there is a world where both Keegan O'Toole and David Carr end up on the same side of the bracket.
yeah,
I think that's a more likely, like, because of seeding, they could be like 1 and 4 potentially, or 2 and 3 somewhere, where they're on the same side. If Ramirez wins out EIWA and Mitch Messenbrink wins out, and then if David Carr loses to Keegan twice, maybe in the dual and in the Big 12s, and I definitely see a situation where they could be on the same side of the bracket, which would be wild.
Well,
that
there's only going to be one undefeated at the. Well, actually, not necessarily undefeated, but
Yeah,
because I definitely see these guys swapping matches again this year. I don't know if one guy is leap and bounds above the other guy at this point.
Do you think the same guy that wins the duel is going to win Big 12s?
I think O'Toole's going 3-0.
You think 3-0? Interesting. I'm going to say 2-1, and he's going to lose the national championship.
Oh, you think it's reversed from last year?
I think it's going to be reversed last year. I think that
That'd be
Carr is going to lose the duel in a close one. It's going to be like an overtime loss. Same thing as it was an overtime win for David Carr. I think it's going to be an overtime loss for David Carr. And I think at Nationals, he's going to make those adjustments, not have an 8-2 victory like Keegan O'Toole did, but get the takedown, get a good ride out, get an escape, maybe win with a 3-point margin.
Well, it also is David Carr's last season, so there's got to be a fire lit underneath him saying, like, I have no other choice. This is my last year. I got to leave it all out there. Whereas Keegan and even Mitch Messenbrink, they have eligibility left. So I feel like I do think Carr is the guy that I would bet on to win in 165 at Nationals. Dual meet, I'm picking him because he's going to be home and he wants redemption from the national finals last year. Big 12s, I could see O'Toole maybe squeezing that one out. And then Nationals, I think it's going to be a whole different game.
I don't see it that way.
You think clean sweep?
I think O'Toole's going to get the clean sweep.
Wow.
He makes good adjustments. We saw it last year.
I don't know.
Is this the biggest match of the season up to this point? I mean, this is like the number 2 pound for pound versus like the number 4 pound for pound.
I mean, some could say maybe Bo Bartlett versus Real Woods on paper because they were number 1 and 2.
Yeah, but I think that in the pound for pound rankings, these guys are both higher, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, this is like almost
like a
David
super match.
Taylor
Right,
versus
versus
Kyle
Wild.
Dake-esque.
Yeah, this is a super match.
This is a super match.
Ooh, it'll be interesting.
Comment down below who you picking for the dual meet, Missouri versus Iowa State, David Carr versus Keegan O'Toole, and then who do you think is going to win the Big 12s? And then who's winning 165 at Nationals? Is it going to be Mitch Messenbrink? Is it going to be Keegan O'Toole? Is it going to be David Carr? Is it going to be someone else? Let us know in the comments down below.
Thanks for watching. We are Cactus Wrestling, and we'll see you next time on our next video.